why is it that this country, so blessed with fertile soil, abundant rainfall, hard-working farmers, and vast arable land, is still food insufficient? Why is it that a country like Ghana, where every region produces food of some kind, still grapple with shortages, high food prices, and the indignity of importing what we should be exporting? Why do we still hear heartbreaking stories of farmers throwing away their produce, tomatoes, yam, plantain, onions, maize, cassava, simply because they cannot transport them to markets in Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, or even across our borders where demand is waiting? So we call ourselves a food-rich country because we truly are. Yet too often we are unable to feed ourselves. We are a nation that boasts of the fertility of the Afram Plains, the rich yam valleys of the north, the plantain belts of Brongahafo, and the tomato fields of Upper East. But those blessings are wasted because of poor road infrastructure, poor planning, poor storage facilities, and the lack of coordinated national policy. So these paradoxes persist. Farmers are crying because they cannot sell, while consumers in the cities are crying because they cannot afford. Fellow Ghanaians, this is a scandal. We have to be frank. The road from Navrongo to Bogatanga, from Techiman to Wa, from Afram Plains to Kufuridia, from Ejra to Kumasi, it's not just a road. It is a lifeline of our food chain. When these roads are broken, narrow, untarred, or completely washed away by the rains, it means trucks cannot reach farms. It means tomatoes rot in baskets on the farms. It means yams decay in barns. It means plantains blacken on the floor. And it means that while a farmer throws food away in the hinterlands, a mother in Accra is forced to pay triple the price for that same food item. This is the absurdity that we live in every day. And it's not just about roads. It's about planning. Every year we go through the same ritual. In the peak harvest season, tomatoes glut the market in Navrongo. Cucumbers glut the market in Techiman. Plantains glut the market in Goso. Prices collapse. Farmers sell at a loss or throw the food away. Then fast forward 6 months later, the same commodities are suddenly scarce. Prices skyrocket in Accra and Kumasi. Consumers then complain. The government pretends to act, and the cycle repeats itself year after year. This, fellow Ghanaians, was the reason we established the National Food Buffer Stock Company. Its mandate was clear: to buy food during surplus seasons, to store them, and to release them when shortages strike, thereby stabilizing prices, protecting farmers, and protecting consumers. But has it lived up to this mandate? Of course not. Instead, it has become another cash cow for political patronage, a warehouse of inefficiency, a tool for contracts, import deals, and really bad stuff that are just letting us go waste. Instead of buying from our farmers, storing our grains, and ensuring food security, the buffer stock has at times turned to imports. Yes, imports of food items. Imagine the insult that Ghana, a food-rich country, importing food to fill warehouses while our farmers rot in poverty. During COVID-19, we witnessed the shame of it. Ghana had to beg ECOWAS for grains to shore up our supplies. Think about that. Begging for grains in land where the Volta basin alone could feed millions if properly irrigated. That, fellow Ghanaians, was an indictment of our planning, of our institutions, and of our commitment to food sovereignty. We cannot continue like this. It is time for a massive rethink. It is time to ask the hard questions and demand bold answers. Why is it that with all our fertile valleys, we cannot achieve food sufficiency? Why is it that with all the subsidies we pour into fertilizer programs, farmers are still struggling? Why is it that with all the speeches about irrigation, we still rely on rain-fed agric in the 21st century? Why is it that with all the slogans, planting for food and jobs, one village, one dam, we are still begging for rice and maize imports? Why is it that with all the institutions, the buffer stock, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the Food and Drugs Authority, we cannot build a system that connects farmer to market, market to consumer, and consumer to export? Why? Fellow Ghanaians, the failure is not the farmers, it is ours. Farmers are doing their part. They rise up at dawn, they till their land, they harvest what their soil yield. Their hands are calloused, Their backs are bent. Their labor is relentless. The failure is in leadership, in institutions, in systems. We must be clear, fellow Ghanaians. This country has the capacity to feed itself and to feed others. From maize in the north to cocoa in the south. From rice in the Volta regions to yam in Brongahafo. From tomatoes in Upper East to plantains in Ashanti. We are blessed with everything we need. And yet, we import rice, we import tomatoes, we import onions, we import frozen chicken, we import even gari in some seasons. Each time we import, we put pressure on our local currency. We drain forest reserves and we undermine our farmers. Each time we import, we export jobs, wealth, and opportunity abroad. Fellow Ghanaians, it is time for this to end. It is time for bold reforms. We must fix our roads, first and foremost. In the food belts, those areas, they need better roads. Food does not move on slogans. It moves on roads. If we can build highways to mines, so can we build highways to farms. And then we must overhaul the buffer stock company. If it cannot do its job, perhaps dissolve it and build a new institution. But let it be run with professionalism, insulated from political patronage, focused only on buying, storing, and releasing food to stabilize prices. Then we must invest in irrigation. No serious food-secure nation depends solely on rainfall. This country must not either. And then we must invest in agro-processing. Farmers cannot continue selling raw materials, the raw tomatoes. They must have factories nearby to turn surplus into paste, juice, and dried products. That is how we reduce waste, create jobs, and add value. Fellow Ghanaians, if we do not act, the consequences will continue to be that food inflation, already so high, the biggest drivers of overall inflation. Poor households are spending up to 70% of their income on food. Hunger is rising, malnutrition is spreading, and social unrest lurks just in the corner. When food rises beyond food sufficiency, it is not a luxury, it is a national security issue. So fellow Ghanaians, we need a rethink, we need a rebuild. We must remember that no nation can truly be sovereign if it cannot feed itself. Mr. President, fellow policymakers, you cannot look away. You can fix the city, you can attract investors, you can build roads and railways, but if the Ghanaian mother cannot afford tomatoes, yam or rice to feed their children, your legacy will be hollow. If farmers continue to throw away their produce while the poor starve in the cities, then our national project is broken. If Ghana, a food-rich Ghana, continues to beg for grains, then all our independence and pride is meaningless. Fellow Ghanaians, the time for slogans is over. The time for food revolution is now. So we must get to the point where truly we can harvest the food from the hinterlands and bring them to the places that are needed. We need storage chains to be able to get to this point. Good morning, fellow Ghanaians, and have a great day.